What's going on, guys? Ethan James here. We are talking about Thomas Crooks and the documentary that just came out that Tucker Carlson put on his YouTube channel. And it's super interesting. A lot of questions here, and that's what we're going to watch is the final questions that Tucker poses. If you haven't watched the documentary, I highly recommend it. I think Tucker did a really good job and falling down the leads. He did his homework. So, without further ado, we're just going to hop right into the end of this video where he's posturing his questions.
All of it makes you wonder, what are they hiding? If the leadership of the FBI and the DOJ had any desire whatsoever to prove to the public that there's in fact nothing there, they could do that. But first they would have to answer these questions. Was Thomas Crooks known to federal law enforcement before the shooting? Was he known to local law enforcement before the shooting? And if not, why not? Who is Willie Tepes? And was he known to federal law enforcement? Is Willie Tepes linked to any violent organizations? Is he linked to any governments? And if so, then around the time of the shooting, did the FBI have assets inside those organizations? If Crooks wasn't known to anyone in authority before the shooting, how was he able to post hundreds of violent extremist comments under his real name between 2019 and 2020 without being detected by law enforcement or intel agencies at a time we know they were monitoring social media? Were those comments, including specific assassination threats against specific public officials, ever reported to YouTube? Other users complained about them. Did YouTube know? Why is the FBI telling us that they'll release this information, quote, after the trial, when there is no trial? Why did an FBI agent from the Technical Hazards Response Unit hose down the crime scene the day after the attack? That seems very strange. What happened on the roof of the American Glass Research Building for the 10 seconds after Crooks' last shot until he was killed by the Secret Service? Does the FBI have surveillance footage of Thomas Crooks' shooting that day? Was the FBI present at the medical examiner's autopsy? Are there still blood samples? Can they be examined by outside authorities? When Congress demanded the autopsy, did the FBI restrict what the examiner could tell the Congress? When the FBI cleared the coroner to release Crooks' body for cremation, did they keep tissue samples, brain tissue samples, spinal cord samples, or spinal fluid samples? Law enforcement sources told us that in a typical investigation in a crime of this nature, it would be normal to preserve all of that, those samples. If the FBI didn't, why not? And who made that decision to destroy what could be critical evidence in an attempted murder case? FBI agents went to the same gun range that Thomas Crooks was using. Who were those agents, and did any of them at any time have any contact with Thomas Crooks? Who did he train with exactly, and why can't we know? Was Thomas Crooks taking drugs that might have turned up on the toxicology report, but that weren't listed somehow? On what date specifically did FBI agents stop investigating Thomas Crooks' online presence? Why did the former deputy director of the FBI, Paul Abate, suggest to Congress that Crooks was a right-winger when he clearly wasn't? Was the FBI aware of Crooks' public comments before the shooting, many of which are openly violent, that included specific assassination attempts involving public officials? Who was Thomas Crooks in communication with in the days before the attack? What does his burner phone show? And in fact, why did he have a burner phone and encrypted foreign email accounts? Who are the government officials trying to link Iran to the shooting? Why did the FBI suggest that he had no digital footprint in the first place when the FBI had a great deal of evidence, hundreds and hundreds of comments from his digital activity? And what's on the other dozen accounts that the FBI clearly had access to? How long had Thomas Crooks been planning to commit an assassination? If there's nothing there, if they tell you this is just a lone nut who gave no indication he might do this, then what is stopping the FBI from at least giving the facts to Congress? Because if there's nothing there, these should be very easy questions to answer.
Yeah, so it's definitely a really weird case, right? And definitely feels like a cover-up by the FBI from the Biden administration. And even now in the Trump administration as well, they seem to be hiding a lot of facts. This is only the first year of Trump's administration, so I'd be fine giving them some more time. You know, I had some thoughts and thought about, Sun Tzu's Art of War, and I have some key takeaways from that where I was thinking, they're probably wanting to not just get into a useless conflict all of a sudden without all the facts, but they're building a case to just take them out in all one fell swoop, which is my hope. There's definitely some weird stuff going on. I've read on X that people are saying, he had zero online presence. I couldn't find that quote anywhere where anybody says zero online presence, but instead there has been a lot of obfuscation of what's been going on with that. So like in July 14th, 2024, initial briefing, investigators noted that they were scouring his online presence, but had found no indications of strongly held political beliefs at that stage, with no public media profiles on platforms like Facebook or Instagram. So maybe they hadn't looked at YouTube, but that just seems silly to me, because if you watch the documentary, he is obviously super active on YouTube, and he probably would have been flagged, at a time that they were monitoring social media platforms. So how was the FBI not aware of this guy already? On July 16th, 2024, they updated it and said a review of his digital activity showed no unusual online history, which that doesn't seem right at all. Beyond hobbies like chess, video games, and coding tutorials, sparse for his age group, but not zero. See, July 30th, Senate testimony by Deputy Director Paul Abate. The FBI disclosed uncovering a 2019 through 2020 social media account believed to be associated with Crooks, containing over 700 comments with anti-Semitic, anti-immigration, and pro-violence themes. So not that it was inaccurate what he said, but it was not the whole truth, because what Tucker shows in this documentary is that there was a point where he just flipped the switch from like right-wing radical to left-wing radical, and it's really kind of crazy. The common thread in it, though, was it seemed to be very fascist. He quoted Mao Zedong. Power is like at the end of a gun or something like that. He uses that over and over and over again. And then in August 28th, 2024, officials described his online activities as showing a mixture of ideologies. So that's kind of true, right? But still not quite the truth, that there was a flip of ideologies in a way. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of misinformation or obfuscation going around, people trying to cloud the facts of what's actually happening. And yeah, it's just kind of wild. Like whenever they washed down the roof and then also cremated him, and we don't have all the answers to, like, was he on drugs? Benny Johnson was alluding to that he might be like MK Ultra plant, something like that, some mind control stuff going on. Who knows? There's definitely a lot of unanswered questions. And as I was sitting thinking about this, what I was going to say, I thought of, well, what could Trump's administration be doing with all this? And I thought of Sun Tzu's Art of War. Like, what does that say about it? So I just asked ChatGPT for some key points out of the book. And it says, win without fighting, the supreme goal. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So they haven't really been fighting anything at all right now. If anything, they've been kind of doing the opposite, covering it up is what it seems like. But yeah, they could be just building their case, right? So know yourself and know your enemy. So taking time again to know their enemy and who all is involved with this, rather than just coming out with a bunch of specious claims. So all warfare is based on deception. When able, appear unable. When near, appear far. When far, appear near. So they could just be playing dumb, or like they don't know anything, or like they're not going to do anything about it, to lull these people into a false sense of security, is a possibility. I think we should keep up with these questions, just like with the Epstein stuff, and things have come out with that now. We've gotten like 20,000 emails, and there's definitely some stuff in there. So choose your battles. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. So timing, I think, is going to be a key factor in all this, having their entire case ready before executing. And also, they're probably going to want to do it in a time where they're wanting to cover something up or take away attention from something else, right? Probably around next election is what I'd say they'd probably start doing some of this stuff. It could be the February or November surprise or whatever, right before elections, that they'll probably come out with a lot of this stuff, that they're saving it for political advantage. I wouldn't be surprised, rather than just coming out with it as soon as, as soon as they're able, which I don't like, but it is the privilege of the administration to do that. I want all the answers right now, but that's not my privilege. So yeah, speed and preparation equals victory. Sun Tzu emphasizes fast once timing is right, but never rushing into something unprepared. So backing up what I'm saying there, choose your battles. Yeah, we already went over that. Position and terrain matters. Pick your battles where conditions favor you and disable the enemy. In life, choose projects, environments, and terms that stack odds in your favor. Logistics and discipline win wars. Stable supply chains, disciplined troops, morale, and organization. So again, not giving out any information that they don't need to give out right now to give the enemy any sort of thing to jump on and defense or to discredit. Leadership determines victory. Adaptability is everything. Avoid prolonged conflict. So no nation ever benefited from prolonged war. So, I mean, them just starting a fight right now that they're not going to be able to finish super quickly, it's just going to distract from Trump trying to make, his achievements that he wants to do, any sort of positive things he wants to get across. Right now, I think he's trying really hard to make a lot of little political wins, with this whole $2,000 stimulus check. I'm not too sure that is a good economic thing to do. I think it caused more inflation. But it's right around the holidays and people are hurting and there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. So obviously he just wants to probably just make people happy, is what he wants to do, is like give them free money, they're like that. And let's see how well that worked with Biden, and inflation, everything like that. But maybe, being optimistic. Who knows about this whole AI bubble, or I say bubble. There's one guy that I was listening to that has had correct predictions on the Graham Stephan show. And he's like, yeah, a lot of people think that the hype behind AI is just hype, but he's like, this is going to fundamentally change everything. And he's saying it's not hype, that it's as big as everybody thinks it is. It doesn't matter that if the chips are only make money and go bad from 2 to 5 years, in 2 to 5 years, the technology that is going to develop from all this is going to, it's not going to matter. It's just going to be so big. So, that's something, it's very optimistic about the market in AI, and I hope that's the case. That'd be super cool. A buddy of mine was talking about the market being like a melt upwards. Who knows? We're looking. Bitcoin is taking a drop right now. But yeah, it's just a super interesting thing that Tucker came out with. He's right. We are entitled to these answers, and we should get them. But, in time, I think, patience. It's only been a year for Trump. So give him a little bit of time. I hope that he, fulfills all these promises that he said. I mean, he said he wanted to, or he's trusting his people was what his statement was, in one of the clips in the documentary. And so hopefully, his people are doing their job and they will actually bring these people to justice. I know everybody is like itching for justice and all answers to all these questions. And, who knows if they're coming anytime soon, if they ever come at all. But there's one thing that can be certain is that the victory is already won in Christ Jesus. So no matter all the instability that's going on in the world, I know that his truth is marching on and there's nothing to fear, and that truth and goodness wins out in the end. So if you haven't trusted or put your faith in Jesus and you're a believer, then wake up, sleeper, and walk as wise and not unwise, for the days are evil. And there's some more to that verse, but that's about as much as I have memorized. Anyway, that is it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Hopefully it's been thought-provoking, been able to weed through some of this stuff, some of the true claims, some of the false claims, where we're at with it. Should we be concerned? Should we be worried? Should we be distrusting? Will people lie? So, there's one thing that is true, and that is the word of God, and it lasts forever. So, yeah, that's it. That's all we have. So thank you very much again for watching. May you bless the Lord, and may he bless you and keep you.